Hey,
Hello.
we're back. We were gonna do a show. Was it your idea, Henry, about upcoming horror projects, or who was that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I'll take credit for that one.
we're gonna do a show about
We can talk about some of
upcoming
those too.
horror projects if I'd actually researched them.
I did.
And
Let's go.
but then some terrible news came through yesterday. Actually, Henry, you were the first person to tell me.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. Somebody's got to be.
Yeah.
That legendary artist and filmmaker David Lynch had passed away at the age of 78. Now, anyone who was familiar with Lynch at all knew that this was going to happen pretty soon, because a few months back he had announced that he had emphysema after being a lifelong smoker. He did quit a few years ago, but by that point, it's like you're smoking for like 60 years. It's you're donezo. I mean, damage is done.
I hadn't heard that news. I did not know that.
Yeah. He was evacuated from his house during the fires because they were worried about the emphysema and the smoke and all that. But
It'd be hard on the lungs, yeah.
Yeah, it was just a hop, skip, and a jump to passing away. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a huge fan of Lynch. His movies, his paintings, his sculpture, photography, music. In fact, every podcast that I've done, I've had this drawing that Chuck Hodai did, and I made a frame for it. I don't know, let's see if...
Oh, how cool.
So Chuck Hodai did the drawing of it, and then I made a frame. It has all the little stuff from Twin Peaks and Rabbits and Eraserhead Baby and all that stuff. So that always hangs out. That hangs up right here above me. So I always have Lynch hanging over me, watching the podcast and judging me. So needless to say, this one hit me really hard. We've had some bad deaths lately. Like, it's getting to that point where like the people we know,
yeah, it's because of our age.
Yeah. Even though we're real young guys and like totally spry still.
Absolutely. Spring chicken.
Don't get hurt going on slides. A few times I've gotten shit from people. I had one friend that was always giving me shit because I liked Lynch's stuff. And they would say, oh, it's nonsense. It's pretentious. And in a second, I'll get to why that's
bullshit.
And a complete misunderstanding.
Super wrong.
They're super wrong about that.
Watch the Elephant Man.
What's that?
Watch the Elephant Man.
Watch the Elephant Man. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, I always forget that one is him. Actually,
a lot of people forget about the Elephant Man.
Yeah, it's a different kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like heartbreaking. Elephant Man is heartbreaking. There's a great criterion of it as well, if anyone gets the criterion. I've always said that like Lynch was my artistic hero. I constantly go back to his body of work when I'm feeling uninspired about my own stuff, and I urge any person with any artistic inclination or something that somebody wants to create something to watch the documentary The Art Life. And you can actually watch it on YouTube for free. The entire thing's on there. There's also a criterion of that one if you want to see like more stuff, but it's basically Lynch talking about his life and his passions, and it's all intercut with him at his workshop at home, just like making paintings and making little sculptures and like making lamps. Like he went through a phase where he was just making lamps. So you're seeing a man who would have been in his early 70s when that was filmed, and he's just still nonstop creating.
What's that called? Arc Life or Art Life?
The Art Life.
Oh yeah.
And even if you think you don't like his work, I still urge you to watch it. I guarantee you that you will be inspired to do something and like create something. You just can't help it. I know that there's like a whole generation of people that only know Lynch from his daily weather reports that he would do. He stopped doing them a while back, but for a while there, every single day he was doing a weather report for KCRW and putting it on YouTube, which was hilarious.
That's awesome.
I'll drop one in here.
Good morning. It's June 1, 2021, and it's a Tuesday. Here in LA, cloudy morning, very slight breeze blowing.
I did not hear about that.
Yeah, it's funny because he's just in that hello.
Yes.
That voice of his. 76 degrees. Some people only know him from his TV or film cameos. Like he played Jack Dahl on Louis C.K.'s show Louis, where he's like the producer of David Letterman, like finds new talent for the studio to like take over for late night.
Well, here's the thing with that, champ. That's short for champion. If you want to be a talk show host, it's better if you're funny. Now, have you ever had any experience with being funny?
Yeah, I'm a comedian.
You're a comedian. Well, I've known you for a week and you haven't made me laugh once.
Or he did his last cameo was as the director John Ford in The Fabelmans, and it's an absolutely hilarious scene.
Oh, that's cool. I have not watched that movie yet. I really want to.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
The scene.
Did you
put that? Hilarious.
I feel like you put that movie on for the David Lynch scene.
Absolutely.
I figured as much.
It's funny is I didn't even know he was in it until I got to that scene. I was like, holy shit, that's awesome.
Well,
right, okay, so there are 5 cowboys,
No. Where's the goddamn horizon?
It's there.
Where?
At the top of the painting.
All right, get over here. Now remember this. When the horizon's at the bottom, it's interesting. When the horizon's at the top, it's interesting. When the horizon's in the middle, it's boring as shit.
Well, Spielberg is always putting directors in his movies. He loves so a lot of that.
But it's just funny because like I know what John Ford sounds like, and David Lynch does not sound like John Ford. He's just doing David Lynch. It's hilarious.
How did he get started? What did he get started doing?
So he
did he start in theater or what?
He started out as a painter.
Oh, really?
He was going to art school.
I know so little about David Lynch. I'm just going to go ahead and say that now.
Yeah, if you watch
I've honestly seen very few of his movies. It's not that I don't dislike him, but I don't like him, and that's because I really have not seen very much of his work, honestly.
You're in the same boat as a lot of people.
I saw The Elephant Man like a long time ago when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I've seen most of Blue Velvet, and I've seen Lost Highway.
Yeah.
And I just recently I watched that Dune.
Hey.
The 80s Dune. I have a soft spot for the 80s Dune.
That's it, man. That's it. That's all I've seen.
Yeah. So he studied painting before he became a filmmaker, and this is going back to the late 60s. He made a bunch of little like student films because the way he describes it in the art life is like he was doing a painting and he sort of started zoning out and seeing the stuff in the painting move. And he said, wow, moving pictures. That's a good idea.
Was he eating mushrooms?
I don't know.
That's when he invented the video camera.
Yeah. So he's from Montana, from like a logging town. So that's why you'll see a lot of logging towns in his movies. Like especially in Blue Velvet, all takes place in a logging town, and Twin Peaks is south, northwest stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, but he made his way out to LA and got into film school, which is where he ended up filming all of Eraserhead and working on that in like a sort of basement type area that they had, like stables. He was living out of the stables there. So like
where horses lived.
Yeah, like horses. Yeah.
Well,
sure.
Being from Montana, I'm sure he was used to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
The smell of horse.
All the house horse that they live with.
But basically, Eraserhead took years to film, years and years, because they just did a little bit at a time as they get. And the funny part is Jack Vance, who played the main character in it, he had to keep his hair like that for 5 years. The wild hair.
Yeah.
He couldn't change it because they kept filming little bits of the movie. So, he had to keep it like that, and he hated it.
That's great. And partly and definitely did inspire Harold Ramis when it came to Egon Spengler and the Ghostbusters.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I can't believe he did Eraserhead, then Elephant Man, then Dune, then Blue Velvet. Like, that's crazy. That's a crazy run right there.
Well, it all runs into each other because Mel Brooks saw Eraserhead and was looking for, like, he had a showing. He had heard about these midnight showings for Eraserhead.
Yeah.
And Mel Brooks is like, I want to check it out. Can we set up a private screening? And he watched it, and the way Lynch describes it is Mel Brooks came out and said, "You're a madman. I love you." And
I was standing outside the screening room, when the doors blew open, and Mel came racing toward me, and he embraced me and said, "You're a madman. I love you."
Then had him direct The Elephant Man. So yeah, he goes on to film The Elephant Man and immediately gets Academy Award nominations, and it's just off to the races from there.
Except for Dune.
Except for Dune, which he considers his great failure in life, and never wanted to talk about it.
That's unfortunate when that happens. It reminds me of how I really wish David Fincher would talk more about Alien 3.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
I really wish Jennifer Aniston would talk about Leprechaun.
Yeah. Or Courtney Cox talk about Masters of the Universe.
Come on. It's okay.
It's okay. It happened. Just acknowledge it.
I know.
You have a fan base from it. There's strong fan bases for everything, pretty much.
Yeah. Al Landon Jr. was in Eraserhead. Oh, okay, cool.
he goes on to use Vance for like every project almost, right?
Yeah, he was in Twin Peaks. He was in a lot of the stuff they did. He kept reusing actors, which is a normal thing for directors to do.
Yeah.
Jack Nance.
So, I think I said Vance before. I meant to say Nance. To talk about his film and TV work for a minute, though, I was introduced to Lynch, like many people were, through Twin Peaks. Although I probably only seen Lost Highway maybe a little bit around the same time, but it didn't really catch my attention. So it must have been in my early 20s, because I always heard that Twin Peaks was a precursor to the X-Files, because there's some threads there that connect.
No way. Really?
Yeah. In fact, David Duchovny plays an FBI agent in Twin Peaks who is a transsexual.
Never seen Twin Peaks. I knew about that. I heard that bit though about David.
Yeah.
Duchovny. Is Lost Highway a TV movie or a TV show?
No, it was a regular movie. It was
theatrical release and everything.
Yeah.
I thought
that had a badass soundtrack to it. That
amazing soundtrack.
Yeah.
So I watched the first season of Twin Peaks, and I'm like, yeah, this is weird. I don't get it.
When did you watch Twin Peaks in life?
Probably my early 20s.
Same here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I at least saw the first season when I was in my early 20s. So I sort of wrote it off, and I was like, yeah, this is weird. People are saying it's weird. I don't really get it. Even though it was a big hit when it came out. But then ABC, something strange happened to where it stuck with me. And it was constantly in the back of my mind. I kept wondering about things of the show and certain scenes. And it was like a seed was planted in my head. So I watched it again. And then I watched the second season, which Lynch was only a part of at the tail end of it. He was sort of pushed out by the studio because he never wanted to reveal Laura Palmer's killer. And the studio was like, no, we got to find out who it is. You have to wrap this up. He wanted to keep it going and make it more about everyone else in the town, make it like a whole sort of universe. But the studio said, no, we need to know who killed Laura Palmer. So, so Frost had taken over for that, and it started tanking the ratings. And then Lynch came back at the very end of it to do like the final episode, and that final episode's amazing.
Wait, do you need to watch the movie and then the TV show?
No, you can watch the TV show first.
Wait,
movie
the
was
TV
after, isn't it? It's a sequel.
Firewalk with Me?
Firewalk with Me is both a prequel and a sequel. It's mainly a prequel. So
what is this? I'm sorry. I'm just looking on IMDb right now and getting confused. What is this? Twin Peaks video, 1989, hour 53 minutes. Like it's got a feature-length runtime.
That was a pilot that was released on its own in foreign markets. I believe they released it in Japan. So they did this like standalone pilot that they sold on VHS.
Oh, and did it ever air on broadcast television?
Yeah,
it was a pilot.
It did.
Okay.
It was the full pilot.
The beginning of the series.
I think they might have added a few scenes in the VHS one.
So if I just started the series, would I see that as well?
Yeah,
I'll
you'd see that.
Into this later.
Yeah,
figure out the fucking
I
watch.
own it on VHS to this day.
Really? I don't even own it on VHS.
Oh,
I own it on VHS.
I've also seen Wild at Heart.
Yeah, Wild at Heart. Yeah,
I've seen that too. That's good. Laura Dern and Nick Cage.
Yeah. So
I tell you about my snakeskin jacket. That shit. Yeah.
It's a symbol of.
Hey, my snakeskin jacket. Thanks, baby. Did I ever tell you that this here jacket represents a symbol of my individuality and my belief in personal freedom?
My.
Fucking real good. I haven't seen that for a long time, but I loved that movie when I was 20 or whatever.
Yeah. There's a great Blu-ray of it.
Oh, cool.
So I watched the second season, and after that, I was sort of off the races. I started absorbing everything I could. I watched Blue Velvet, Eraserhead, then Lost Highway. Then I watched Twin Peaks Firewalk with Me. I just went through everything. And there's a very good reason why his name has become an adjective, Lynchian.
Yeah, Lynchian.
Although I don't think that there's many movies or TV that truly live up to that description.
Like Cronenbergian.
Yes, like Cronenbergian.
Mm-hmm.
Like some scene in a movie could have one scene of body horror and they're like, oh, it's Cronenbergian. But for something to be truly Lynchian, it almost has to be only David Lynch. There's stuff that's similar, but I don't think there's ever going to be another filmmaker like him exactly. And I don't think that we would have the elevated horror, that what they call it, that we know of today without him. Like a lot of the stuff that A24 released, like The Witch and Under the Skin, Saint Maud. There's something about his movies where he can take something mundane and of like everyday life and inject like these horrifying images into them without resorting to extreme gore or cheap jump scares.
Yeah, a lot.
Not that there isn't any jump scares.
There are jump scares for sure, but they're always earned. They're always earned.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know some of the jump scares without having seen the movies.
Yeah,
sure.
Like stuff in Lost Highway.
Yeah, sure.
The Lost Highway stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, with Robert Blake as the mystery man. I'll drop a clip here.
We've met before, haven't we?
I don't think so. Where was it you think we met?
At your house, don't you remember?
No, I don't. Are you sure?
Of course. As a matter of fact, I'm there right now. Call me. Dial your number. I told you I was here.
How'd you do that?
Ask me.
Or the Winky's Diner scene from Mulholland Drive with the woman behind the dumpster, which is like famous scary scene that always makes top of the list of like Bravo's top scary moments, you know.
So like is there's the term Lynchian exists because he's so influential. But what were some of his influences? Because he wasn't just like created in a vacuum. So
no,
like, where was he coming from exactly?
So he is inspired a lot by older films, like the films of Billy Wilder, like Sunset Boulevard.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
And Fellini movies and avant-garde paintings. He came from a very traditional background, which is strange. It's like he's almost like this aberration that came out of like the nothingness of Montana.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah,
because it's weird. He kind of did come from a vacuum a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like
yeah,
he sort of was created in a vacuum, strangely enough.
His friend in school, who had his father, the father of his friend was a famous painter, and the name's escaping now, but I'll put it on the screen when I remember it. And was sort of inspired by that, and started. And that guy was a sort of an avant-garde painter, so that sort of started him down this road. But like Lynch's dad didn't understand any of this stuff. There's a famous story where he moved out with his wife when she was pregnant, and they had like a basement area.
I said, "Oh, I gotta show you some stuff," and I took him down to the basement, which was like earthen floor, really old cobwebs and stuff all around the ceiling level. I'd set up these little tables, little like platforms out of wood and stuff, and I had all these experiments going. Like I wanted to see what fruit would do after a long period, different stages of fruit, and how it would decay. And I had some dead birds, and I had my mouse in plastic, and I had, a bunch of stuff I'd collected.
And so Lynch was like taking, like he found like a dead mouse and an apple and like some flies, and he put them up on the windowsill, and like had splayed them out, and he's like, "Oh, come here, I want to show you this." And like his dad walks downstairs with him, and he's like, "Look at that." And it's just like these rotting animals on the windowsill.
He's just like one fucking abusive beating away from becoming a serial killer instead of a filmmaker.
Yeah, and
he's like one moment where his mother forced him to wear a dress out in public.
Exactly,
away from becoming a serial killer.
He's almost Ed Kemper.
It's right there on the edge.
He's Ed Gein.
That's good.
But there's right after he showed his dad that, like, they started walking back upstairs.
So then we went back up, and we were on the stairway, and I was ahead of him. And I was smiling to myself. It was great that he got to see this. And I kind of turned with a smile as we were going up the stairs. I turned back toward him, and I see this pained expression on my father's face.
And Lynch was trying to say, like, so beautiful, the way they rot everything, and he saw his dad's face go like, fuck.
Yeah, that's a strong man right there.
Yeah.
David Lynch's father, boat, man. Strong man.
I think that's like cool. How Dexter starts, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Whatever floats your boat. That's how Jeffrey Dahmer happened.
Just eat the sandwich.
Actually.
Just eat the sandwich.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I saw a funny quote from him today. That was like, Mom, don't watch Eraserhead, and don't tell anybody else that I watched it. Or something like that.
Yeah.
That's a Dahmer quote?
Yes.
Dahmer, yes. Jeffrey Dahmer, famous Lynch fan. When they announced that Twin Peaks, Lynch was going to be coming back for a third season of Twin Peaks, like most fans that had been disappointed by like so many bad revivals and and
like the X-Files. Remember when the X-Files came back, and that was kind of just like flopped like a dud.
Everyone was pretty apprehensive about it, and they like, well, does a man in his 70s really have what it takes to tackle another season of this show that has such a huge cult following? And then it came out, and Twin Peaks: The Return not only put those fears to rest, but it may be his greatest work to date. It's like a culmination of his entire career. And when you realize, not only did it fit together perfectly, but the original seasons had scenes that only made sense when you're able to get another angle of the same scene in The Return. Like, it was a plan from the beginning to come back. I mean, Laura Palmer herself is in the scene and she says,
"I'll see you again in 25 years. Meanwhile."
It's wild.
And there's scenes in there that, like, it all makes sense now, but it just took 25 years to get there.
That's cool. Yeah.
And not only were there horrifying scenes in The Return, like incredibly scary things, but it's funny as fuck. And that brings me to the accusation of Lynch's work being pretentious, and why that is
bullshit.
Why did they think he couldn't do it? Because I know there had been some other bad revival shows, but it's David Lynch we're talking about. Like, where are his doubters? And didn't they? Speaking of his age, didn't they go see fucking Mad Max Fury Road, and George Miller blew their fucking asses out? And they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, 70-year-old men, you can make good movies." Like,
well, it's like the last last major thing he had done was Inland Empire, and that sort of flopped because it was probably the weirdest thing he had done to date. It was all on DV cameras, so it's sort
I
of
didn't
like
know that he was involved in that either.
Yeah, he was like one of the original filmmakers that was pushing digital work.
That was like the Prohibition bootlegger show, right?
No. Inland Empire is it all takes place. It's
I'm
like
thinking
the
of
third
something
in a
totally
trilogy.
different. Okay.
So there's Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire, and it all takes place in like
LA.
Yeah, it's like the quintessential LA trilogy.
Man, that's wild. Fucking, he has to be evacuated from the LA fires. It's like one of the last like major events that
it's very fitting that he passes away as LA is burning to the ground.
It kind of is. That's wild, sort of, when you line those two things up. I mean, sorry, LA, but fuck.
Yeah, exactly. So the pretentious thing.
Yeah.
No pretentious person is going to put that much comedy into their work. Like, Eraserhead is incredibly funny in certain scenes. And there's hilarious scenes through all out Twin Peaks and Mulholland Drive.
Would you like some pie?
Massive quantities and a glass of water, sweetheart. My socks are on fire.
And I heard people say, "Oh, he thinks he's smarter than everyone else, and we just don't understand his work because we're dumb." And like but Lynch is the first person to say, "I don't think I'm smart, and if my work doesn't connect to you, that's fine." He was making art that he wanted to see. But people were watching it trying to decode something that he's done and getting frustrated. They're missing the point. It's not about that. And that's one of the main things I've always heard from people is like, "Oh, it's pretentious." But pretentious people take themselves way too fucking seriously, and they never have a sense of humor. Everything is like super serious, and you got to take this seriously. But none of his stuff is like that.
Mm-hmm. Tommy Wiseau, for example, he's just always serious about it.
I did not.
Why are you laughing?
So to me, it's about the feelings that you get from it and sort of letting it wash over you. The main plot points are there. If you're watching it, they're in everything that he's done. There's always main plot points. Maybe not his early like student film stuff, because that's like, it's just like creepy imagery, but there's this story that you connect, but then there's these dreamy things that he does, and sometimes it's merely just to set the atmosphere and the mood, especially in Twin Peaks: The Return. I mean, it's like takes Twin Peaks and Inland Empire and like merges them together as far as the creepy imagery and stuff. Maybe I connected to it a bit more because I've always been a bit obsessed with like dreams and my own dreams and like images that I see in them. But art doesn't have to make sense. It's not about that. It's about showing you something new, pulling you out of your own mind, or maybe taking you back to like a place that you used to remember. There are scenes of like profound beauty and terror in all of his work, and I think it's just so sad that people are going to miss out on that, on truly great cinema, because they aren't willing to get lost in the woods for a bit. And maybe you'll see something and go like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. And then 5 years later, you'll be thinking about it and go, oh shit, I think that connects to this. And that's a really cool feeling to sort of like come back to something that you watched before that you sort of dismissed, and maybe it clicks with you suddenly. So I urge everyone to check out Lynch's work. And if you don't know where to start, I have a primer that's a good starting point. The Elephant Man or The Straight Story. The Straight Story is a Disney movie that he made. And that's literally what it is. It's a straight up story. It's about a guy going to visit his sick brother, and he doesn't have a car, so he rides a tractor all the way to his brother, like many states over. And it's a true story.
That's great.
And it's a rated G Disney movie, and it's excellent. Twin Peaks, the first season and the second season, then Blue Velvet, then Wild at Heart, then Eraserhead, then Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, then the third season of Eraserhead, or third season of Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks,
yeah. Then Lost Highway, and then Inland Empire, because that's going to be the weirdest one. But
you got that, everybody?
Make sure you write it down.
I'm going to have to write that down. I won't remember.
Yeah.
I just wanted an easy breezy way to watch Twin Peaks, but you fucking lumped in there like 7 other movies that I have to watch.
You could,
I guess, in order to understand this.
You can.
I'm into it. I'll jump right in.
You can definitely watch Twin Peaks all the way through. For sure, you can do that if you want to just. And you know what? You can watch all 3 seasons of Twin Peaks and then go back and watch Fire Walk with Me, because some people didn't connect with it, but it fills in a lot of the gaps that you might miss from watching it.
So you've talked a lot about why you like David Lynch and his work, but what about him as an artist?
What I like about him is that he
stands out,
always been uncompromising. He has a extreme integrity that's hard to find in Hollywood. After the stuff he went through with Dune and not getting final cut on that was like the great tragedy of his life, that he didn't get to make that film the way he wanted to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he never did it again. Like, no matter what, he was going to have final cut. He was going to do exactly what he wanted to do. There's famous behind the scenes stuff in Twin Peaks where he's getting mad because people are saying like, well, we could just cut down the scene. He's like, what the fuck is that? Who cares how long a scene is?
If you want to cut the time down,
What is this with everybody?
No.
What is it? Really?
Only me. It's
Why?
my fault.
I'm serious. Fucking A, man. It drives me nuts. Who gives a fucking shit how long a scene is?
Mm-hmm.
He did what he wanted. He was constantly creating, no matter what, he was doing something, music or photography or paintings. His paintings are incredible. They're super creepy and like funny. Mixing sculptures and paintings, like just like sculpting a weird like dog thing and slapping it on a painting.
Like
what I also like about,
sure.
yeah, it's mixed media all the way.
Like his whole style. Everything he does sounds like.
I love the feeling that his movies give, and it's hard to describe, but it's like you're watching someone else's dream.
Yeah, that's wild.
And like dreams, they can go from something beautiful to something terrifying, like in an instant,
and be incredibly confusing.
And may only make sense later on in the day when you're thinking about it. Like, I wonder why I was surfing on a bunch of roast beef last night or something,
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe it's because I ate a bunch of roast beef before I went to bed.
Yeah,
I mean, you're right. His death is sort of like one of the last of like the really subversive filmmakers that existed in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of too many, honestly, going on today. And the films that are the ones that are put out as subversive are not actually. They're like masquerading as subversive. They're quasi-subversive.
But there's so few these days that it's like it sticks out that the subversive movie. But if you look at it compared to other things, not really.
If you look at it, you're just watching. Like I just watched the fucking Substance recently. You guys catch this one, The Substance?
I actually am going to watch it this week, and I started, and I'm going to restart it.
Maybe we could have a little talk about it once you watch it.
Yeah, we should.
It's something else, but anyway,
one of the last Lynch, true like auteurs.
Absolutely.
I mean, we got Francis Ford Coppola. He was pretty shocking in his time, but
some are still with us. Yeah, I mean, not like they're making good stuff. Like I would put Tim Burton in that crowd.
Yeah,
he even has like a Burton-esque
Ridley Scott
thing. Yeah, maybe. I would say Terry Gilliam. When we lose Terry Gilliam, that'll be a big thing.
Yeah. People that are willing to like stake their entire lives on something, no matter what, even if people are going like, it's crazy. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
You bowl.
He's coming out with a new movie called The Dark Knight with Armie Hammer.
With Armie Hammer, that's right.
Oh, no, I heard about that. Yeah. Anyway, it's a bummer, but how old was he? 78?
78, yeah.
We all knew it was run, coming. And he left behind quite a goddamn legacy. If we could only dream of being a percentage of,
I'm really gonna miss his energy. Behind. Like if you go back and watch his talks on creativity or meditation, and he's just like has a beautiful energy where he
had it all the way up to the end. Yeah.
All the way to the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like inspired all of his family, and like everyone around him was like in that with them. They were ready to do whatever he wanted to do because they believed in his work. He just had an amazing energy and like it was infectious, and that's why he worked with a lot of the same actors, because like once they worked with him, they wanted to work with him again and again and again. So yeah, this really hit hard, and I knew it was coming, but you still don't want to believe that the person's gone and they're never going to create anything again. I still hope that something gets released.
He could have, because he was putting stuff out still,
there was rumors.
He did not retire.
He was working with Netflix for a while on something called Wisteria Lane, which no one knew what that really became. So there might be a possibility that something gets released later on. Someone thought it was like an edition of Twin Peaks.
Wait a minute. Isn't Wisteria Lane the show about the fucking bored housewives?
No.
Dude, I'm pretty sure.
It's close.
I'm pretty sure, man.
Well, that was the name of.
What was that show about the bored housewives in the 2000 oddies? What was that show? Desperate Housewives.
Desperate Housewives. The show about Desperate Housewives. That was called Desperate Housewives.
Housewives. They were bored or something.
The street was called Wisteria Lane that they were on. I think that's what you're thinking of.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but there still might be, maybe he filmed something that like he said, don't release it until after I'm gone, or just the massive amount of stuff that he was working on at home, and he left behind a little girl. Like he had just had not that long ago a kid. Yeah, in the art life you see him playing with a baby.
You know what? Don't fucking knock up a girl when you're fucking 70 years old.
You like to fuck.
I get it. I get it.
Fucks.
They got pills.
But you don't need to be having fucking offspring. I know you could knock up some like fucking healthy 30-year-old girl. I get that. And I get
all
that
the
your
actors
sperm
are
still
doing
works. I get that. Yeah, I know. De Niro,
like
you
Alec
don't
Baldwin,
need a child right now.
Baldwin,
this child will never have a father. Fuck you. You asshole.
Yeah,
But anyway,
it is.
I'm not saying Lynch is that. I'm not saying that, of course. But
no, and I mean, and obviously he had his bad. He was married and divorced several times, and like I'm sure he had his bad parts.
Those
like
kinds
everybody.
of people are,
and I'm sure wasn't the easiest person to live with. Probably,
yeah, they're difficult to live with.
Yeah, but I just owe a lot of inspiration to him, and it sucks.
So do so many others. Yeah, I know.
We've had some bad ones, you know.
There really have been. Yeah.
Pee Wee Herman was bad.
Pee Wee Herman was. Paul Reubens was really bad for me personally.
Yeah,
I was seriously like depressed for like 3 days after. Like seriously.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't do stuff.
Yeah.
And like that lasted for like a week or two. Not hard, but like those first couple days, I was like fucking bummed out.
Yeah.
Like really bummed out.
What about you, Henry? Has there been any recent ones that hit you hard?
Not recent. It's been about 10 years. Well, no, recent. Yeah, George Bettis. George Bettis just.
Oh yeah.
He had made the announcement that they had diagnosed him with. What I don't even remember the cancer that took him, but
some of the cancers, man, they're so fast.
2 weeks. Yeah,
and explain to people who George was that may not know.
DC famous comic artist and writer.
He did both.
Yeah, he did both. He was great, very influential. He was on anything you're thinking of that's kind of like within the 80s and the 90s. It was kind of influential.
Man, you should check out his Wonder Woman. His Wonder Woman from the 80s. Check that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that pretty rare for the artist to also be the writer, or is that more common these days?
It's pretty common, especially back in like the 70s. You know, where once you're in, and it's like a tight circle.
Yeah.
Which it's still kind of.
George Perez was very good at drawing, like large teams. You know.
Yeah.
Like he could draw a real
like Avengers,
real large
assembling
group of people. Yeah, assembly of characters, and everything was real dynamic looking
without making it look like too busy and ugly.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do.
It is. Yeah.
Having something to look at every time you pull that cover up.
Yeah.
Is great. He did the Infinity Gauntlet cover to that famous black.
I think even I know that one. Yeah.
Thanos standing on top of the planet. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen that. Okay. Yeah, man. It's always tough when like someone like this dies, when someone inspiring to you goes, because it's like it feels like a piece of you dies too. And yeah.
But it's not the ones that hurt the most are the ones that, you know, were younger, you know, that definitely
yeah, for sure,
you know, a lot ahead of them.
Yeah, the PV hurt one was totally unexpected.
Well, regarding that, I'm still heard about Phil Hartman, and it's been 30
Oh,
years.
yeah.
You know what a fucked up situation, tragedy that was. We could have had decades more.
I always think of what we missed out on with Phil Hartman. I mean,
John Candy.
Not only was an amazing writer,
Farley,
but like Phil Hartman was a
decades.
Phil Hartman was not only a great comedian, like comedic actor, but he was also a writer. Like he was doing tons of stuff, and yeah, I always think about what we missed out on that.
Oh God, just recently, Norm Macdonald was a real hard one for me as well. That one hit me fucking hard.
Bob Saget.
I didn't know he was sick either. Oh yeah, that was real bad.
Yeah,
and it's especially sad, like Bob Saget and Paul Reubens, these people that have like actually made a comeback for themselves, like had sort of a downfall and then came back and they're doing pretty good again.
Yeah.
You know,
Paul Reubens, like totally unjustified fall down in his career. Like did not deserve it.
It's like he was falsely accused and went to prison for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, we lost so much time and he was bouncing back hard. He was talking about so many plans of like new Pee-wee movies that he wanted to make. He had big ideas and big plans.
Yeah.
I know, fucking tragic.
It almost feels like they're being pulled off the planet before everything gets really shitty.
Fucking A, dude. I know.
It's like
Pulled
they're
back
all
to the
going one
source.
by one.
Shit.
But hey, in a few days we'll have a new president and a new era.
Yippee. TikTok will be gone.
No.
So yeah, I just wanted to come on and talk about that because he meant so much to me, and thank you guys for indulging me on this.
Sure.
Yeah, I really got to sit down and watch some Lynch work.
Yeah, everyone should. Everyone should give it a shot.
You know what? It just always felt like such like a dedication.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to put it exactly.
Yeah,
not daunting. But that's the first word I could think of.
It can be a challenge to get through some, like Twin Peaks.
Challenging, but in a good way. You know.
Yeah.
And I always want to find like the perfect and right time and moment, not just in the physical, actual time reality space, but also in my head space. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, the planets have never aligned, in that way for those things. And I've never had anyone, it's nice to be hand led by someone into the world of Lynch, I think. And I've never really had someone to like hold my hand and walk me in.
I will hold your hand if you want.
Oh, thank you. You know what I mean, though.
I urge everyone to check out his work and start with the accessible stuff. Watch Elephant Man. If you're gonna watch anything, watch Elephant Man, because it's accessible. It's a beautiful movie. It's fucking heartbreaking, but it's inspiring as well, and it's a true story. So yeah, I guess we'll see you guys next time.
It's also nice. I just want to say it's nice to see the positive outpouring on social media.
Oh, so much
since it happened. It's like so much, like everybody. It's touching to see how many people he's touched.
Yeah. A bunch of people I didn't even know that were into him. They're like posting things. I'm like, oh, and we started connecting with each other about it, which is really cool.
Yeah. It's absolutely cool.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see you guys next time on Frank Welker, and then whatever we figure out next for Macabrecast.
Still got ideas.
Henry's got a lot of ideas for Macabrecast. So I'm excited.
It's just
don't
like
say that. You might die. Don't say you have good ideas.
Yeah, be good to everybody.
Yeah,
be good to yourselves. Be good to your friends.
Yeah, hug all your loved ones now.
You never
know.
Now.
Do it
right now. Just leave the house. Go find someone and hug them.
Out of here. All right, guys.
All right, man. Thanks, guys.
Take it easy.